So our lead this hour, as we fit everything together, comes from Northern California. And as we take a look at the NFC playoff picture, the 49ers trying to find gold. They have already picked up their boarding pass to the 2022 postseason. They're in. Congratulations, Mazel Tov. You're in. What a great mitzvah. They're most likely going to be either the number 2 or number 3 seed in the National Football Conference as we head down the home stretch. Down the stretch they go. So now the focus has shifted to a standard topic of conversation this time of the year. We follow the NFL. These things pop up on the calendar. And the issue of whether or not the head coach, Kyle Shanahan, wants to play his guys. Does he want to play his cards, his key guys there, the key ace cards and the kings and the queens and all that the rest of the way? Or will he end up resting those key players and keep them fresh for the playoff run? Now, he was asked about this, and he gave an answer that I thought was interesting. It wasn't your standard jargon. Perhaps you heard it, maybe not. Either way, let's go to the audio tape. Here's Kyle Shanahan asked if the 49ers will be resting healthy starters down the stretch.
I think that's one of the biggest mistakes people make just watching it over the years. That's my opinion. I would understand if you're getting ready for a 7-game series. I don't think football's like that. It's 3.5 hours. It's one shot. I've been on a lot of teams where you rest guys or give guys a few more weeks, and those are usually the guys who struggle the most in that first playoff game.
All right, so that was Shanahan ranting about that. Now, wait, there's more. Shanahan did say, though, there is a caveat here, that injuries are a different animal when it comes to this time of the year.
Anybody who has an injury that could risk them for the following week or something like that, that's to me the decisions now that there is no decision. Definitely rest them.
All right, so that's Kyle Shanahan, coach of the 49ers. The money part of that quote, he said that's one of the biggest mistakes people make just watching it over the years, resting healthy players down the stretch. So let us discuss the question. All right, the issue of rest, right? Not wanting to rest healthy 49er players before the playoffs. Is that ludicrous or logical? All right, so I have it more than logical. I have it as the right side here that Kyle Shanahan is doing the right thing. It's more than reasonable. I've got hardwired, Coldplay, and spoon-fed. And we will connect all of these three things together, and we will go on a rampage through the magic radio box is what we're going to do. So, first of all, I say bravo to Kyle Shanahan, a chef's kiss. All right, I like this. That's the right mindset. And I find myself praising a 49er. What's wrong with me? I'm losing my mind here. But I like the attitude. It's hard to believe that has become old school. For many, it is dated. It's cringeworthy. How could you possibly say that? You're going to have a 3-alarm fire? We have a generation who has been coddled to believe that they must rest their star players. And I believe in going the opposite direction, right? I don't think that you should take copious amounts of time away. I know that's all the rage these days. It's been the ruination of the NBA, for example. I know we're talking football here, but in the NBA, they've taken that to the next level, and the product's unwatchable. But for football, it hasn't gotten to that point yet. And for us, Kyle Shanahan is preaching to the choir. There is no data or data, depending on how you say it, there's no data to back up one way or another. So it's a gray area here. It's another one of these things which is subjective. There's a very small sample size. You can not rest starters and lose in the first playoff game. That happens. You can rest half of your team and go out and drop a deuce all over the field at the midfield logo. That also happens. Now, that said, I am a big believer in human nature. And I'm a guy that buys into the fact that it's in the DNA of you and I and everyone else, right? We're all related one way or another. That we're all hardwired as creatures of habit. It's habitual behavior. It's muscle memory. And when you start cutting corners, when you start taking the lazy road and resting and taking extra days off, you end up with a shoddy product. and they don't show attention to detail, you end up making more mistakes. It's absenteeism becomes an issue. And you're scared of the boogeyman. You shouldn't be scared of the boogeyman. And if a guy's going to get hurt on a Sunday in Week 17, was going to get hurt whether he played or not, he'd get hurt in the playoff game. Whoop-de-damn do, right? You want players that want to play. I want winners, as a former 49er coach said. I want people that want to play, that you can win with. You can't win with this. And you got to have perseverance. You got to have the fire in your belly. And if you're looking to not play because you're afraid you're going to get hurt, you're a loser. And I want no part of you. Now, secondly, why do so many NFL teams believe in the healthy player not playing? Right? It's resting healthy players. Well, my theory on this, I've polished my theory over time here, but they've listened to too much Coldplay and that twisted logic back in the day, right? That we have a handful of dictators, if you will, in the medicine world, voodoo medicine types, who have convinced the people in charge that this is the way to go, that the industrial complex of sports is now genuflected, that you have to rest these people, you have to manage how much they play, there's a road map, and you can't go off the map, and if you don't follow exactly what we say, you're not going to be able to prevent injuries. And it is bullpucky, as our friend Jay Scoop likes to say. People who run sports teams are vulnerable to skullduggery. And it's just like the smartest people in society, the people that the village has determined are the geniuses, often fall for scams. It's an odd thing that they're really smart in one area and really dumb in another, and we see that in sports all the time. When I was getting ready for the show, one of the things I was watching, to tell you how boring my life is, I was watching a Mike Vrabel news conference. Now, he's the head coach in Tennessee, and he was asked about the injury prevention that is going on for the Titans. And I'll get back to the 49ers here, but I just want to throw this out as a side note. So Mike Vrabel was asked about how do you keep the players on the field and all this stuff, and he said that has been a focal point for the Tennessee Titans, injury prevention all year, going back to when players reported at training camp, that the Tennessee Titans changed the practice schedule. They did research on getting players they claimed to 90%. They have some jabroni named Frank, who is the Titans' director of sports performance, who would walk around practice with an iPad to track and monitor the wellness of players. Guess what? Spoiler alert, it didn't work. Despite all the changes and hiring someone to oversee everything, Tennessee is in purgatory, injury purgatory, and they have been unable to dig their way out of it through 14 games this season. The Titans, who hired someone to manage injuries with an iPad walking around practice and followed all of the voodoo science. The Tennessee Titans have already used 80 players. Tennessee leads all NFL teams with total players on injured reserve. They've got 28 of them. And the second most on injured reserve currently has 17. So they have 11 more players who are out. And in regards to players, based on their contract value this year, the Titans have the fourth most in total salary cap commitment that's out and the fifth most in salary cap dollars, if you're into those kind of things. That is an example of how backwards thinking this is. And I know that's involving the Tennessee Titans, but that's why that's one of the reasons I believe that validates on some level what Kyle Shanahan and the Niners are doing going into this, as these guys are having the time of their life. All right, final thought. So I was checking out a story that rookie quarterback Brock Purdy is in for a crash landing here. And one of the nerds wrote up a story, and somebody sent it to me, and I was reading it, that this is all a mirage. It's all an hallucination, that the 49ers are really playing with matches. And the story went into great detail. They talked, among other things, about how Purdy only has one interception during the recent 3 games that he's played, but he has not 1, not 2, 3, but 4 turnover-worthy plays. That's according to the nerds at Pro Football Focus. So the argument was made that turnover-worthy play statistic would rank fourth worst in the NFL, that Brock Purdy's actually on the same plane with Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, and Taylor Heineke. The thinking is that eventually the luck will run out and that he'll get punished for a few more of those mistakes. They will not be dropped. They will be caught by the defensive players, and that's it. And that is the popular opinion by popular Poindexters in the echo chamber. And so the question is, how concerned should the 49ers backers be with Brock Purdy that he's about to self-destruct? On the MALLER scale of concern, we'll go to the MALLER scale of concern. That adds a lot of knowledge. So the MALLER scale of concern, Brock Purdy imploding 1 to 10. I'm at a 4. I'm below average on this. I'll tell you why. It's paralysis by analysis. Now, I will guarantee you that Brock Purdy's going to have a stinker. He ain't going to be playing perfect football all year, and maybe it happens this weekend against the Washington football team, formerly known as the Redskins. But I do know that the odds are lower that Purdy's going to be terrible, because what Kyle Shanahan is doing is taking a page out of the Sean McVay playbook when the Rams had Jared Goff. And from what I've observed here, Shanahan is spoon-feeding the offense to accommodate his quarterback. That's a wise, savvy coaching move. And that it's a lot of the running game, that's the star of the show, high percentage passes, basic, rudimentary passing attack, and the 49er receivers have been getting open. And as long as that continues, it's hard to imagine that Brock Purdy is going to all of a sudden fall off a cliff and vanish into thin air. Again, he's going to have a stinker. Everyone's got a stinker every once in a while. But he seemed very comfortable, very, very comfortable. And he does get a better challenge. The Washington defense is ranked much higher than anyone he's played so far this year. So we'll see how he responds this weekend. But normally I am Mr. Negative over here, but I'm Benny Brightside on Brock Purdy. This guy has been calm, cool, and he gets it. I don't see that ending all of a sudden.